What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Bullets, Barbells, and Barbecue. I'm your host, Brett. I have Chris, the artist formerly known as Heavy C. I got Matt Deuce here. I got Tanner the Head. We got our show partners, Elite Nutrition Omaha. Check them out at elitenutritionomaha.com. Use code B3 at checkout for 10% off, or go to the store and yell B3.
Get a free shaker.
We also have Rosewood Block to make the best cutting boards in barbecue. Check them out at rosewoodblock.com. Use code B3 at checkout for 10% off as well.
It's a hell of a deal.
Yeah, quite the thing. I thought today we would talk about, because we've been talking about this, like, personal responsibility, personal improvement. What do you guys think about, like, when people talk about, and this is not in the sexual way, like someone's passion towards something? You know what I mean? Like, are they really passionate about it? How do you determine if you're actually, like, passionate, and what level does that mean?
Well, I think you can see it in people that are really good at things, the difference between someone who really enjoys what they do and really likes it and someone who's just good at it. Does that make sense? Like, if you ever, who is the powerlifter? Steffi Cohen.
Yeah.
She did not even like powerlifting. She actually hates the training, doesn't like anything to do with it, but she's really good at it. Right? I think that takes you a long ways, but if you have the person who is really good at something and loves it, I think you can see the difference.
What do you think do you think sometimes it's a problem? Being too passionate about it?
I'm sure it is.
Probably.
Like, especially if you're not that good.
Yeah. Depends on what it is. Yeah.
Now, do you think being naturally gifted makes you less passionate about it, though?
No.
Or it doesn't take you the work, so you don't really, do you know what I mean?
I think that's true. Like, look at Johnny Manziel. Super passionate.
Look at Tiger Woods, though.
Super gifted, not very passionate.
Look at Tiger
Ronnie
Woods.
Coleman. Yeah.
Tiger Woods, super gifted and super passionate about it. And I think you can see the difference, right? Like Johnny Manziel, you can see the talent and you can see that he's good, but he's going to flame out. Tiger Woods, you see the talent, and then you have, like, he goes through his workout routine and everything else, and you're like, yeah, and he really cares.
Yeah, but do you think it's harder to get good at, or to be good at golf than it is to be good at football? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like golf, like, you're playing every position. Football, you're playing one position.
That is true. Like, you have nowhere to hide.
Right, but so is everyone else. So I think it's like an equal playing field then.
No, I mean, as far as, like, Tiger Woods, like, passion for it, like, you almost have to be passionate to be that good because it takes so much more work.
But it's like, if you're really fast and you can't catch, you can be a cornerback. You could be a defensive back.
Right, but so is everyone else who's in that same position. Like, they're all going to be really fast, so you have to find that differentiator.
Yeah.
So then you have to practice on whatever that kind of outlier skill is to set you apart. I was thinking, so when you said the passion thing, do you guys remember Dirty Jobs?
Yeah, Mike Rowe.
Mike Rowe. He had in one of his, I don't know, I think he still has like a podcast or a video thing that he does, but in one of his videos that he had made, he brought up an interesting point about, like, sometimes you have to bring your passion to whatever it is that you're doing. Like, if you find, like, take a plumber, right? Like, plumbing's plumbing and stuff, but, like, some guys are, like, the quality of work that they do is light years better than others. And that's bringing a different, because no one's really passionate about cleaning out a toilet. I mean, there might be. There's probably a handful of people out there who really dig it.
You just think they're passionate about their job.
Yeah, like their
whatever
job,
their
or they're
job
passionate about excellence or about performing at the highest level that they can. And so then they take that with them to whatever they're tackling. And so that plumber probably isn't super cool or isn't, like, super fond of crawling around in little crawl spaces in, like, a flooded basement. But he's still going to bring his A game, bring his highest level of passion, if you will, to that, to get that highest outcome. And that's, I think, a piece when people say, oh, like, find what you're passionate about and find, like, that's, yes, but that can also be misleading. Like, I could be super passionate about long jump, but I am never going to be a good long jumper, like, never. And so I can still be passionate about and doing that stuff, but if I take all that passion, I focus it towards long jump, then the rest of everything's going to be a failure.
But do you think if you're not ever going to do it, then your next step is to be like a coach?
I mean, maybe. I mean, that could be a piece of it. Like, if that's really what I want and I want to go that, but then I think your passion changes from, like, wanting to be the athlete to wanting to coach the athlete. And, like, those are two very different things.
Now, do you guys think if if you're not as good at something as someone like you take a natural gift like Tiger Woods is very gifted at what he did, or like you said, Johnny Manziel. But say you're the next step, you're kind of down from him, like you're a couple strokes behind Tiger, or you're Johnny Manziel's backup. Do you think that those people are more passionate because they have to be to try to get up to that level?
I think the ones that succeed are, but you see the backup quarterback who comes in and ends up being the man.
Yeah, Nick Foles.
Yeah,
But he was
Tom
never
Brady.
a good
Brady.
Tom Brady.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Nick Foles was never a good starter though.
So I think Matt actually made a really good point that I think the people who are really good at things, it may be whatever they're good at or whatever they're doing, they're passionate about. I think you have to be passionate about not sucking. You know what I mean? Like whatever you're going to do, you just do it to the best of your ability. And if you're just that type of person, I think if you're a plumber, electrician, if you're a welder, if you're a golfer, if you're a football player, if you have that in you, you're going to be great at whatever.
I think if you're like passionate about like excellence, I think you're probably a leader. Like you're probably going to be like the foreman on the job site, or you're going to, because you're just passionate about excellence of what it's going to be. So you're probably going to be in charge of that crew to make sure everything's done right. Because your leadership is probably going to see that, I would assume.
And I think that we recognize that, like we see it because it doesn't happen very often. I don't think a lot of people are passionate about being excellent at whatever they're doing. You know what I mean? So when you do see it, it stands out. It stands out like an outlier. And you can tell people like I'm sure you've seen personal trainers. You're like, this guy cares. This guy doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can have 100 people doing the same job, but not all of them are going to care the same, right?
Yeah.
But then that same personal trainer could have went on to be an insurance salesman and also been great at that, and then went on to be what I mean. Like you see some of these people who are just successful at whatever they do, whether it's a sport or whether it's just your life job. And then you also see people who just kind of coast, and I think most people coast. And I don't know if it's a fear of failure, like they don't want to fail, like they'd rather just not try.
Well, it's that old thing. If you don't start, you don't have to quit.
Yeah.
I mean, really, if you don't start something, you don't have to quit. Like we all have gotten to the point in our life where I'm not going to try to start to do something I'm not good at, or I'm not going to be good at. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to long jump because I'm not going to be good at it. And I think actually sometimes
And you're going to tear a lot of things.
Yeah.
The wheels just
And I think that's kind of part of like we've talked about like high school athletes and stuff like that. Like I think as you go up, my opinion, you should kind of start to narrow down what you're good at and put more time into that instead of playing like 27 sports. That's my opinion. Try to figure out what you're good at. Like the back in the day, like the old like Eastern Bloc, they would like groom them and be like, they'd make them play multiple things, and then whatever you were good at, they would start to funnel you in that direction.
See, and I'm still the opposite on that for kids. I think a kid should play a different sport every season.
But then how do you get better if you don't have an off season? You know what I mean?
Until-
Because if look at your training, you have an off season.
Until they get into maybe high school.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, once
Or
you're into
like-
high school,
yeah.
I feel like maybe your junior, senior year, you should start kind of narrowing.
Focusing on whatever, yeah.
I mean, and I always hated it when our football coaches used to be like, if you don't play track, you're not going to play football. Or run track, I mean.
Yeah.
But,
Play track.
yeah. I mean, I do see some of that if you want to maintain some kind of athleticism. But how much of that do you maintain once school's out?
Yeah.
You have like 3 months before football practice starts. Like, you're not going to.
You're just freaking playing Call of Duty, eating Cheetos all summer anyway.
Yeah. Just wake up naked in a beanbag eating Cheetos,
Call of Duty. There wasn't nothing like that back in the 90s. When I would
No,
play
Resident
football.
Evil. I was probably playing Resident Evil.
I think. No, what was it? I can't even
Counter
think of
Strike, bro.
it. No,
Oh, what was the first one that was on the computer?
that's Counter Strike.
No, it
Oregon
was,
Trail?
No,
we were actually talking about Oregon Trail. No, the first player shooter
Something
game.
Fortress.
Wasn't like
Yeah, there's Wolfenstein.
That was
Wolfenstein.
it. Yeah.
And then Duke Nukem came after that.
my grandpa
Wolfenstein
played
and
Nukem
Doom.
Wolfenstein.
Like
yeah,
the real world, like the real life Wolfenstein.
You had to have like Windows 95, I think, to play Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
I think it was pre Windows 95 because I know where my grandpa's shop was, and I went in there. I'm like, what is my grandpa doing? And he's playing Wolfenstein on the computer. But this had to be, this had to be 1990.
Like
Yeah,
the old, like so the original Wolfenstein. I think wasn't it Wolfenstein was the first one. It was like the green screen.
Because there was Wolfenstein 3D was the later one.
2GS kind of thing, where it was just like green lines were your walls, and like things were like box characters.
I remember staying late at McMillan to play Wolfenstein on the computers there because I didn't have one at home. Yeah.
I played, I played Oregon Trail on one of the Apples. It's so old it took a cassette. Now I was not that old. The Apple was that old.
May 5th, 1992 is when the original Wolfenstein 3D was released.
That was the 3D one though.
Yeah.
Was there one before that though?
Right. I think the one
That would have been
before
when I
that
was in junior
like
high. Right at junior high.
there was a Zork anthology. Zork was the game, but it was like a word.
Oh, Castle Wolfenstein, 1981.
There you go,
There we
Castle
go.
Wolfenstein.
That's the one that my grandpa was playing.
I was gonna say-
almost guaranteed.
I was gonna say, I thought there was one because the 3D was the one that came out and had all the gray like brick walls.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever play any of the games that it would say like, you enter a room and it kind of describes what the room's in front of you, and then you like tell it what you want to do. You like turn left, turn right, interact with the desk.
Yeah.
And then it would like return a value like, oh, you interacted with the desk. You open the front drawer and you find
It was like Dungeons and Dragons for people who didn't want to read a book.
yeah. It was like a choose your own adventure thing.
Wasn't like the early
awesome.
Zelda? Wasn't the early Zelda kind of like that?
I never played
Or
Zelda.
Final Fantasy, or one of those where you had to
Never
walk
played.
in and you had to kind of choose the
That reminds
storyline.
me of that game in the movie Big that
Yeah.
Yeah.
he was playing. He'd, when he was a kid, he'd be
Yeah.
like, oh, go in and grab the sword.
Yeah.
Stuff. That I never played games like that, but that's
Yeah.
the first thing that popped into
They
my
did.
Probably
head.
too much activity, huh?
They did that
Yeah,
one.
I'm not
and
trying
then- was it
Got
Myst,
those
maybe?
fingers real tired.
Didn't have that ergonomic keyboard yet.
Oh, dude, I've got one of those now. They're fucking money.
I had one for a long time back in the day on my
fucking
desktop.
great.
They were the split one.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
split and it's like this, and then the mouse I have now sits upright rather than like flat.
What?
Dude, it's a game changer. It's fucking great.
How
It's
much
weird.
how much finger grease have you got on that mouse ball? Then it stops tracking.
So this one, not too much on this one. I
that's
had
good.
at the
Okay, so you hold it like this?
yeah. So it's like when you
And
put
then
down,
like you do this?
no, like you still move around like a regular mouse, but your buttons to click are over here rather than like this. So you
Oh,
still
I
have
thought you were talking about the
so
ones.
it's
Remember the
like
ones
a-
that had the roller ball?
yeah.
And you
so I
just
had-
move the
I
ball.
had one of those before. At the
So
old
it's like a
office.
handgun.
Yeah,
Way better.
way better.
America.
Yeah, yeah. So you've got it. You got the trigger for the first click.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not really.
yeah.
Back to the other
yeah,
thing.
back
I
to the
think
original-
people, I don't know. It seems like a lot of people these days don't have a lot of pride in what they do and themselves. And it seems like less and less people are more pleasing. Like I think when you're growing up and you do well and someone says, oh, you did a good job. Like some people get like satisfaction out of that. Like someone saying you did a good job or you're good at something. Now I think a lot of kids don't really care about being good at something or, showing somebody else they're good at something. They're just like, yeah.
Like it doesn't motivate them.
Yeah.
The thing, actually, Matt, you sent that YouTube over to the group,
Which one? The Cody Sanchez one?
the money people.
Yeah, Cody Sanchez is. I've watched her stuff before. She's really good.
So, but they were one of the things that that stuck out to me listening to that is that like the Gen Z takes like 25% less risks than we did,
Yeah.
and in everything, right? And I think the problem is that and we always talk about we talked about this a couple times ago, like the whole like participation trophy, like that wasn't the kids that did it, right? That was the fucking parents, right?
But it did kind of ruin a generation. Not ruin them, but it made it real
No,
difficult for them.
Yeah, it made them pussies, right? And now we have bubbled our kids because if you go back to the 1990s and you look at crime statistics versus today, the 90s were the wild, wild fucking west. Like all crime is higher, all violent crime is higher.
In
like,
the 90s.
In the 90s than it is today. Like we're safer now than we've ever been. Maybe not the last few years because I think the crime just started trending up, but up like 4 years ago, we were safer now. Oh, wonder what happened 4 years ago. We were safer now than we had ever been, and then,
Those were all peaceful protests.
yeah, I know.
Slightly fiery, but peaceful protest.
But we're safer now than we've ever been. However, we're so fucked up that we're like making our kids so worried about life and so worried about everything else that I think we've just turned them into people who won't take risks, into pussies, and that we don't have the passion, right? Because, and I kind of got into this the other day with my daughter, is like, she was super high about something, like she's having a really good week, track was going good, friends were going good, everything's going good. She's really high, and I just wanted to be like, I just want to pull her down, right? Because whenever there's a high, there's an equal low. You know what I mean? Your friend quits talking to you, you have a bad track, like however much you can love something is how much it can hurt you, basically. And I wanted to like save her, like I don't want you to have this low. And then I was like, you know what? And I told her, I was like, this is my instinct, but I'm gonna let you have it but when this low comes, we're gonna have to deal with it too. You know, but I don't think we let kids have those highs or those lows. I think we try and protect them, and we have a bunch of people in the freaking middle, and not just kids, just society, that are just meandering through life with no real purpose, no pride, no passion, like, and they just like get from point A to point B, and they just don't care about anything else.
Yes, I would add on to, and I'm going to say that I've picked this up from some others, but this might just be making stuff up based on what other people say, and I'm just going to pretend like smarter people said it. So some of that, if you look at dopamine hits and the reaction, just like you said, so if you have a dopamine hit and you go up, call it 10 happy points,
Okay.
and your baseline 0, when you come down from that dopamine hit, you're going to go down to like -2 or -3.
Okay.
And then it takes you a little bit back to come back up to your baseline.
It takes you more to hit 10 again, or to get to
It will take you more if you have a consistent hit of that dopamine, like the first time you watched porn, right? Like, and you didn't have to touch yourself; you were just done in your pants.
I was going to go with cocaine, but you can go with porn.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah.
But the same thing with coke and everything else, right? So yeah, the more frequently, but that's not. I guess that's the piece I would go to is like the reaction of dopamine. So dopamine hits your system, you get happy. So like your daughter, super high. Even if she comes down organically from that and no one just pulls a rug out from underneath her, the reduction in dopamine and that feeling is going to bring her down below her baseline for a little bit. And then it's going to take her time to just naturally come back up to baseline. So that's why when you come down from that high, you feel a little bit worse for a while before you come back up to baseline. When you get a negative interaction, so if looking at interactions and feedback in the workforce, it's generally like a 5-to-1, anywhere from a 3-to-1 up to a 7-to-1 positive reinforcement versus negative, or I guess positive feedback versus negative feedback. So when someone hurts you or gives you negative feedback, or you have a negative interaction, your happy score goes down a lot. So even if you go down -10, right, it takes you longer to get from that -10 back up to baseline than it took for you to come down from your +10 down to the -2 and then back up to 0.
Is that with everybody, or is that?
That's with most people. Like if you were to just kind of extrapolate this over most general interactions.
Because I feel like for me, like if I have something negative happen, like I go down, I get pissed, and then I think I bounce back up. Like I get mad.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not like a specific.
Yeah.
Like everybody operates this way, but there's also ways like you can be conditioned. Like so, for most people,
My dad conditioned me to bounce back
Yeah,
quick.
well, but that could be it. Like if you're getting constructive criticism, and you've either reframed your own mindset to take that in as like, this isn't a bad thing. This is an opportunity for me to grow, to become better, to do something better, and you can change that what is perceived. Because again, like if it's a fact, if feedback is a fact, it's not good or bad. It's just a fact. Like you were supposed to color inside the lines. You didn't color inside the lines. That's a fact, right?
Yep.
Now, if you tell a kid that, generally they're going to get probably upset because they're taking that as like you're disappointed with them. But that's just a fact. Now, extrapolate that out to the adults. Like facts are facts. They're not good or bad. But how people perceive them are. So when we look at the taking 25% less risk, the world that we live in today is full of what I would call diminishers. And those are the people who find it not more satisfactory, but they find the way for them to elevate their status amongst their peers and others is to not better themselves, but to bring others down.
Yep.
And so when you're in that kind of environment, you are going to be more gun shy because you have that many more people who are willing to cut you down because you're not surrounded by people that are going to support you or even just leave you alone.
Well, and I'll add to that. I think also if you try to, some of those groups where you try to be better, then those people judge you because you're trying to be better than them. And that's kind of that idea where your circle is going to get smaller because you got to cut out people that aren't going to support if you're trying to be better.
I think another issue is no one's telling you anymore it's not okay to color outside the lines.
Because your feelings matter too much.
Wow, that looks beautiful.
Like there's not that feedback, right? Because like you were saying, right? You're trying to protect them from having unhappy feelings, whatever it is. But the fact of living in that diminishing culture is if we go back to kind of the dopamine hit stuff, if you are more consistently provided, and we'll just call it negative reactions, because I don't even think it's feedback. Like, feedback is constructive in general. Like, someone is just giving you negative interactions for whatever you've done. Your happy points are going to be down, and it's going to take you a lot longer to get back up to baseline, let alone have a positive interaction to bring you up to a +10. So you're just constantly maybe getting to baseline, and then you come back down. So you haven't built in that experience of like, oh, hey, I had like 7 positive interactions, so I hit 10 happy points 7 times today and 10 negative points once. So that overall volume.
I had a shitty day because of that one thing.
Yeah, because of that one thing, because you didn't have these other reference points to be like, oh yeah, this great shit happened. Oh yeah, I had this part and it wasn't very good, but like, look at all this other cool shit that happened. And so when you put all that stuff together, you find people who are less likely to take risk, right? Because if you put themselves out there was I don't remember who the person was. She does research at one of the Ivy League schools and was talking about she has never had more like intelligent and competent people in her class who are highly educated and in the labs who have all the knowledge in the world to do whatever they want, and none of them are ready, self-reported, none of them are ready to take their theoretical talk to the experimental lab. They're all just like, oh, not yet. I'm waiting for this, or I'm waiting for that.
I'm wondering if social media has a play in that in a couple ways. One, that people get that dopamine hit from all the
instant gratification,
1,000%.
from all the positive stuff, and whenever they post something, like every time a like happens, like they've tracked the dopamine hit. And if you post something, and no one likes it, you're like, oh my God, does everyone hate me? Mm-hmm. I think that has to do it, and I think part of the risk is that once again, you're comparing yourself to someone's highlight reel. So if you only see if you're like, well, all these people are doing all these great things and they never fail, I think it's harder for some of these kids to be like, to go out and try. It's like, I don't know if I can do that. I don't want to be a failure. Everyone else succeeds.
Because you make one, even if it's not even a mistake, but it's just like not perfect or whatever. You're going to have 1,000 people that are going to jump all over you and tell you how stupid it was.
Yeah,
how bad of an idea it was.
You missed 435 benching one time and you get text over
and people set alarms
over
and they keep sending you messages. But you don't have anyone coming back and saying like, hey, fuck yeah, like great job. Like at least you tried, right? At least you went out and you attempted something. You put yourself out there.
Matt said good try.
Well, and it's like you're talking about the highlight reel stuff, and it's like I was listening one day, Andy Frisella's podcast, and he's like, people got to remember, most of them Lambos are rented. You know what I mean? Like,
there
that's
are private planes that have no wings. They're just a fucking fuselage. They've been cut in half and
triple word
to make
score.
them look wider, just so people can take photos.
They'll
They'll run backgrounds by the windows, like video screen in the windows to give you whatever background you want. You can rent flight attendants. You can rent captains to be part of your video scheme for these private jets. So you can go out and portray that you are traveling via private jet for some photo shoot, some video.
Someone got
commercial airliners. You can do that.
Someone got in trouble for that. They were like flying on my private jet, and someone's like, I saw you in coach. Like,
yeah, you can't always just compare yourself to everyone else. Do some research. Like, it's kind of like a mixed review, like that Cody Sanchez we were talking about. She's very successful in what she does, but she doesn't like when people are successful post materialistic things to an extent. But there's the other way you can look at it too, where like you have like Andy, who will talk about his car collection, but he owns them.
Yep.
So, and there's also nothing wrong with being materialistic in a successful way. If you've worked hard and you want to buy something, buy whatever you want. Like, I don't really care. Like I said, I don't care how you get your wealth, whatever you're doing, if you can afford to buy it or whatever you're doing. But like when you're trying to follow somebody, you look up to somebody and you're trying to get that instant gratification, or you see them doing it, maybe do a little research. Like, is that theirs? Do they fucking own that plane? Like,
or why give a fuck? Like your truck, whatever you drive affects my life zero.
No, but people are motivated off of seeing other people to compare themselves to.
Well, yeah, but like I
think you say I would say that they are venturing towards, and I can't remember.
I mean, it's kind of like you like to watch Tiger Woods golf. Why? It motivates you to play golf.
I like watching greatness, but like I never have anything in my head that says I'm ever going to be Tiger Woods.
No, but it probably motivates you to go play or try to be better.
Boy, it motivates
I used
me
to watch Tiger Woods play a lot, and never motivated me to go play.
Yeah, I watched this fucking championship cup stacking.
Yeah, I
like
mean-
because anyone at that top percent of greatness
It's fun.
and is fucking awesome.
There
That is so cool.
There was a game the other day. I don't even know what game it is. And the headline was, or the whatever it said, you don't even have to know this game to understand the greatness. And it was like some oblong ball that rolled on like one side, and then like it was round on the other side. It was kind of like, and they just rolled it down, and it went in. It split two balls and then touched the other one. I don't know what game it was. I was like, holy fuck! I know that's good.
Yeah, like that shit's fucking awesome.
And I think at a certain age, though, but like, especially when you're younger, though, you know what I mean? Which are the kids that we're kind of talking about. Like, how many times were you ever like, when you were young, like 10, 11, 12, you're watching Michael Jordan play, and next thing you know, you're outside playing basketball because you think you're going to be the next Michael Jordan.
But see, I think the difference of what you're saying is that, okay, let's just say I'm watching Michael Jordan, I want to be the best basketball player. I'm watching Tom Brady, I want to be the best quarterback. Is different than looking at someone and saying, I want their car.
But it's not, because it might motivate them
Well,
to.
it's like, so if your wife gives you the hall pass, right, and you pick Jennifer Aniston, right? They're like, oh, wow, that's cute. But you name the neighbor. That's fighting words, right? And the reason being, like, that neighbor is potentially a real thing. Jennifer Aniston is not, and so I think I would look at, if you look at like Tiger Woods, Tom Brady, like if you're a kid, you look at them and you're like, they are a professional athlete, and so even at a young age, you understand that there's this difference between you and them.
So are you
have to
saying
work
that
and get
Tom
there.
Brady and Michael Jordan are not attainable, but the Lambo is?
Well, no, the Lambo is the same thing because but you have this Lambo, but it's different. So a Lambo's a thing. So if Tom Brady shows his Lambo, Tom Brady is Tom Brady. We know that he's achieved this excellence. So he has this status, and we know that there's a difference between us, even at a young age. So he has Lambo, but your neighbor or someone in your neighborhood or someone that you might know, like they have the Lambo or they have something. And now you're starting to associate yourself and compare them to them. Like that's when stuff starts to get different. So like these highlight reels, yeah, and that's when these highlight reels that you start to see. Now you're seeing real people with these things.
I don't
And
think
that's where
social
the
media
illusion
ruins people as much with the materialistic part of it as it does is everybody thinking their life is perfect. I think, I think that's way worse.
I think it's both, yeah.
I think it's everyone thinking their life's perfect is when you're scrolling through there and you're like, oh man, everybody's so happy, their life's perfect. Like they never have bad days. They're always posting on here. Well, fuck what kind of car he's driving. This guy seems like he's really happy. You know what I mean? And he never has a bad day. He doesn't have anything shitty going on. You know what I mean? I think that messes with people a lot more than them showing what kind of house they have or what kind of car they're driving or what Airbnb they're staying at. It's not really their fucking house.
Yeah, I
All
completely
that
agree
shit's
with
fake.
you.
All that shit's fake. Nobody lives like that.
I guess what I was trying to get the point, like if I wanted to be Tiger Woods, it wouldn't be for the Lambo. It would be to be the greatest golfer ever.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, but I think motivations are different.
Yeah, I
Lambo's a
think you
side
have to. But I think that's part of the issue with some people is that when your motivation, if your motivation is money, like if you get into business only for money,
You'll never make money.
you'll never make money. So like if your motivation is just some abstract or just some materialistic thing, and I just want this Lambo, like I think you'll do anything to get it, and I think it's going to be fleeting, right? But if your thing is I want to be the greatest plumber ever, and like I know an auto mechanic who has the nicest RV I've ever seen. You know what I mean? Like I know people who you don't have to be flashy; you just have to be really good at whatever you do. And I guess that's for me. It's like why are you worried about the material? The materialistic things come if you're great. So just be fucking great and then buy whatever you want. But I think some kids get it backwards. They want the materialistic things and they don't know it takes greatness to get them, right? So they just see Lambo or whatever, and some kid sold something on Amazon or they're
You saw the
whatever.
get rich quick schemes. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, you can just sell the shit, and that kind of all kind of brings the kind of whole passion thing together, because to achieve greatness, you have to have the passion to do it, because not every day. If Instagram or Facebook or X, whatever the fuck it is, was around when Michael Jordan was coming up, and he posted like, got kicked off or I didn't make the starting team. I basically almost failed out of school because I stopped going to class. Like, people are going to be like, this dude's a fucking dipshit. You know what I mean? Like, he failed out of school, or almost failed out of, was it high school? Or I think he almost failed out for skipping. But all the highs and the lows, because nothing's going to be great all the time.
No.
That's what we're talking about, showing the victories. But you have to be passionate to stay with it. And if you don't have the passion to do that, you'll never achieve the greatness. You'll never achieve the world championships. You'll never achieve the Lambo. You'll never achieve whatever you're doing. You know what I mean? And so if you look up to somebody, I guess it's however you want to take it. If it motivates you, but don't be motivated for the wrong reason.
Right. Like if everyone's motivated to be the best at whatever you're doing, like whatever you're doing, I don't care if it's a hobby, I don't care if it's your job, like just to be as good as you possibly can be, then I mean, who here has been with a carpenter? And I go to measure something, I measure it
Like
4 times.
sexually, or
You did kind of leave that open, yeah.
laying wood.
That was kind of a
do I put
weird-
my hand up? I don't know where he's going.
Matt's like, yeah, oh no.
Oh no,
Yeah, no, I have been sexually, but not to watch him work. No, yeah.
claim
I've
to
never
be a
worked with
carpenter.
one. I'd like to.
You're around a carpenter, you're working with them, and like you measure your piece of wood 4 times, you cut it, you go put it in, it's fucking wrong, right? This guy doesn't even fucking measure it. He looks, he's like, yep, and he just chops it, puts it in, it fits perfectly. Like that to me, like I'm like, how the fuck do I get that? Like I don't.
He's done that. He's measured the 4 or 5 times, 1,000 times.
Yes. But like that's what I want people to shoot for. Like shoot for that. And I don't care what it is. I don't care. But like all the other stuff, like your house, your car, like your clothes, all that stuff will come if you want it.
Yeah.
Just go be great.
Yeah, and that guy, and like I said, like Matt said, he measured that thing how many times. And I guess you could even look at it as passion is just like sticking with something, the longevity of it. Because that guy's measured that board, and you know how many times that guy probably cut it wrong? Hopefully cut it long. You can't add back to it, but you know what I mean? You know how many times that guy's probably cut it wrong
Right.
before he got there, but he didn't like give up on it because he wanted to be great. Like you have to be passionate about being great at what you're doing.
Right.
And if you're not great at the beginning, you can't be like, well, fuck it. This sucks. I'm not doing it.
And I think too many people do that because they see everyone's good days and they see everyone's highlight reel.
And the instant gratification.
Yeah.
You know,
And,
say
and I
they're-
think it's like Chris said, it's pride. You know, because like pride and like passion, I think go hand in hand. Like if you have pride in what you do, then you're going to have passion for being good at anything. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Well, yeah, I
The
mean,
best cashier at Walmart.
Yeah.
Because I work at Walmart. I'm going to be the best.
I mean, it's all
cashier
about
at Walmart.
consistency. I mean, we consistently put fucking podcasts out.
Yeah.
But you know what? I just look at it as, you know what? If one person gets entertained or learns something from us, that's all that really matters.
Motivation gets tied in with passion and
For sure.
stuff. And I think motivation as the driving force is complete trash because motivation is such a temporary thing. Like it can get you started and get you down, but like motivation is going to wear out pretty quick. And so unless you have that passion for excellence and you
And
have
discipline.
like a goal and discipline and you know what you're working towards, trying to ride the motivation train, which is where I think a lot of people fail, like that's going to get you nowhere. You can start a lot of stuff, you can make some good progress, but as soon as things get challenging and you have to evolve, you can't use motivation to do that. You have to have a goal, you have to have a plan, you have to know where you're going and what you're trying to accomplish, and that will help carry you through that.
Motivation can be a tool, right?
can be,
Like
100%.
if you go and you hit a lift or you make a shot or do
Let's say
whatever.
motivation gets you out of bed, in the car, and to the gym. And then from there,
Well, but a lot of times it's discipline too, because if you're only relying on motivation and you wake up and you're like, I don't really feel like going, and you just go back to bed, that's where the discipline comes in. I think motivation can be used to get you a little shot in the arm. You know, like you've been stuck on something, you've been hitting a bench, you like grinding at it, and you're just like stuck. It's really hard to be motivated if your bench hasn't gone up in a year, right? But then that one day you come in and it goes up 5 or 10 pounds and you're like, fuck, I'm back at it. Let's go. You know, so I think motivation can help be a tool to get you somewhere, whether like you're losing weight. I'm stuck. Oh, I lost 5 pounds. All right, sweet. Let's go. You know, but that discipline kept you doing it to be able to get that reward that motivates you to take the next step.
yeah.
So
Consistency. Consistency is key to all of it. I think, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely the case. Consistency and discipline are very heavily connected.
And
The
discipline
passion-
leads to habits, basically.
yep.
And the passion, I think, ties into not necessarily a passion for like the thing you're trying, like you're doing, like you're not passionate about being a plumber. You're passionate about excellence and like doing the best you can all the time. So whether I'm here, I don't know if you guys have done it, but like we'll cook at home sometimes, not sometimes, we cook at home a lot. And every now and then, like I take extra care to like make the meal look fancy. Like I'll bust out the
The
parsley.
plating.
Yeah, the plating, right? And you sprinkle some parsley on top there, and you make kind of fancy it up. And for some reason, that fucking food tastes better, right? But I mean, if you do little things like that, and you just dedicate a little bit extra to everything you're doing, like that's I think the passion that we're, at least that I'm thinking of, and I think we're kind of going towards. It's not just passionate about this one thing about being the best football player you can, because that'll like okay, but there's a lot more than just playing football that goes into it. So you have to have this bigger goal, this bigger drive in order to really succeed in all of these things.
And sometimes it's okay to, if you actually are doing well at something, it's okay to take a second and sit back and be like, wow, look what's going on. You know what I mean? To look at what you've done and be proud of what you've done. But make sure you've actually done something.
Right.
Not just like, oh, look, I wiped my own ass. Like,
Yeah.
I wipe my own ass.
It's really deflating when you don't give yourself a chance to like acknowledge what you've done.
like with a carpenter, like I haven't built a lot of things. I helped a friend of mine back in the day. We built like a railroad tie wall in his yard. And we got done. Both of us just stood there and were like, yep, it's pretty fucking sweet. And then whenever I'd go to his house, we'd always just end up walking over and looking at it. And we're like, yep, look at that.
Right.
Hasn't even fucking fallen over yet.
Right. But it's like, I'm sure as entrepreneurs, like when you accomplish something in business, right? It's probably tough to take a second and be like, fuck yeah, I did it. Because as soon as that happens, like you're already starting to look at like that next evolution.
But there's a lot of times, like when you own a business, that like there's a lot of days that are just mundane.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And
like,
not every day is going to be just like,
No.
like, you know, I tell clients, not every day is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
You're going to have fucking shitty training days. You're going to have good training days. There's good days in business. And there's actually probably more like shitty days owning a business than there are good days.
I would say there's a lot more
Challenging days.
blood days.
Well, yeah.
like that are just days that you just did what you had to do to accomplish that day. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then, but when something fun happens, or like you have a new project or something, you're like, fucking go time, right? Or if the shit hits the fan, you're like, okay, gotta take this up. You know, it just there has to be a balance. If all of them were great or all of them were shitty, you'd be in a different spot.
Yeah, there's probably so if anybody puts out their highlight reels, but there's probably, I always think there's probably more difficult days than there are
100%.
highlight days. You know, you're only buying so many Lambos.
Yeah.
You know, not every day is a Lambo day. Yeah, you know what I mean? You're not like, well,
it's a Ferrari day.
well, it's Tuesday, buy another Lambo. You know what I mean? You're like, nope, now I got to fucking make some money. You know, and
I got to go hop in my Toyota and go home. The one that actually own.
got to take my Corolla. It might hail. But yeah, I think whatever you're doing, just be passionate about it, but
Yeah.
don't like dwell on the bad things, and don't get like sucked into the good things for too long. It's great to celebrate the victories. Like Matt's going to finish 75 hard. Yeah, I'm sure he's going to be excited about that, but I'm sure he'll go right back to working out like the next day or so. You know what I mean? Back to doing his rucks and whatever. So
After
celebrate your victories, but also, and sometimes, you know, sometimes you might not celebrate the victory and just keep moving on to the next one because the eyes are on the prize down the road, you know?
And that's good. And I think that's where I was trying to get. Like, it's really good to have those visions like further down the road, like as you get close, right? If all you have is like one objective and you get to that objective and you're like, okay, well, what do I do now? But you have these other things. But if all you're doing is constantly moving from one to the next, and you don't ever acknowledge those successes, it gets really boring. Like, not boring, like really tiresome and exhausting to like constantly just be working towards something when you don't take even just a little bit to like acknowledge that success.
Yeah.
Even if they're little successes, like just take a quick second and be like, whew, all right, cool, I did that.
And it doesn't have to be. It's more of just an acknowledgement. Like you don't have to throw a fucking party for yourself.
No, and
Right,
no one else
like,
has to know
yeah.
except you, because like you're the one that matters. But like take that second, and that will also help give you that motivation shot in the arm, that little boost to be like, all right, cool.
Yeah,
Where
keep
did
the
I
fire
start?
alive.
And
I'm
when
here.
stuff is shitty, it's the same thing. Acknowledge it.
Yeah,
Figure out
Like,
what,
man, that sucked.
like, could you have done something better, and then move on.
yeah,
Move on. Don't dwell on it.
yeah.
Yeah, the past is the past.
Yeah, I think Simba said that. Pumbaa, Timon.
Rafiki was the monkey. I bet he said he was smart.
You just watched Lion King last night or what?
No, but it was one of my favorite movies. I can actually quote.
I
almost all
assume
of
that's
it.
your favorite movie. That does not surprise me like at all.
Love the Lion King.
Yeah, you do.
Yep.
Pretty legit.
Anybody else got anything on the passion?
Yeah, actually. Tell your kids sometimes they suck when they do something. They don't do something that is good. That way, when they get older and they hit the real world, they don't get surprised when someone's like, "Hey, that sucks," because I think that just makes weak people.
I will tell you, all of our kids understand when they suck.
Yeah,
Yeah, life is not always rainbows and butterflies.
it is not okay to color outside the lines.
Yeah.
Prepare the child for the road, not the road for the child.
Yep.
But yeah, figure out what you're passionate about and chase it and be really good at it. That's all you can do. Because remember, we need to be a little less shitty
A
every
little
day.
less shitty.
I'm a
More
lot
you-
less shitty today.
The more you know.
So many poops this morning.
Yeah. We were like waiting to ruck, and he's just in there like taking a shit. And I was
I
like,
ran out of farts on the way here. I was like, I've got no more room.
You rocked yesterday.
Whew.
Matt had people in town for work, so we rocked
Oh.
this morning.
And
But-
tornadoes.
We were
Yeah.
going to call you and then decided not to.
That's nice.
Yeah. We had a team meeting about it. And just,
Yeah. Were you there?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we kept it the same.
yeah.
Hey, should we have our own team
I
meeting?
guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there went. Oh yeah, that's fine.
I think it's good for the
Fuck those
junior
guys.
staff to get together.
All right, guys. Please like, subscribe, share, follow, tell everyone about it, whether you like us or not. And we'll see you next time.